Hola, bienvenidos y bienvenidos de nuevo, amigos. We are back for another fight card in La Ciudad de Mexico. This hat does not fit people with small heads like me. There really is no way for me to wear this and look cool. So, yeah, we have a lot of really great fights this weekend. A little bit of a short notice fill in, sure, but still, it is going to be an amazing card through and through. Lots of talent all over this one. Let's give Kavanagh versus Moreno a dynamic breakdown. What's everybody been up to? And of course, a shout out to our MMA journalist, Carlo Perusa. He is always interviewing the fighters, especially fighters who are on the prelims, and we love and appreciate that because it's hard to find information to learn about our fighters that are situated on the prelims. So shout out to Carlo Perusa, and make sure you subscribe. And shout out to Jesse Wu for that subscribe jam. Subscribe. So subscribe. And of course, the Boninator, Mike Bon, and everybody else. As always, we start with our agenda. We are in La Ciudad de Mexico at Arena CDMX. That is the classic staple for the UFC events that have taken place in La Ciudad de Mexico. I believe it's 8 events total. And here we will have un escaparate del espíritu pelea mexicano, or, if I'm phrasing that correctly, a showcase of the Mexican fighting spirit, which we all know is real as the ocean is blue. We have a lot of talented fighters from Mexico, a lot of talented fighters from all over Northern, Central, and South America, a lot of Latin American fighters with so much talent. And since there is so much talent circulating near La Ciudad de Mexico, the UFC caught on quickly, and they have a performance institute that's actually based there. So many of the fighters that we're going to see are frequent trainers at that facility. We have a pretty unfortunate situation. A lot of times this happens. Fights fall through, and we are wishing Almabayev well. Azu was injured. He was supposed to be going against Brandon Moreno, but Loner Kavanagh is seizing the opportunity, looking to bounce back from his loss against Charles Johnson, filling in, chilling in, the lone Englishman on the card. We have so many debuts. Forgot to count how many. Whoops. I'm a little sick this week. I meant to film this yesterday, so whatever. We'll blame it on that. We didn't count. Let's go back and count later. In addition to that, we have a lot of warriors who are coming off some major layoffs, right? Like years, or, well, more realistically, a year to a year and a half, which can be kind of a long time. We have 2 people who go by the name Problema, and we've got 2 witches. We have got 7 prelim fights on our hands, and we're starting with the middleweights, Damian Pinas and Wes Schultz. Wes Party Time Schultz has a wrestling base. This is his UFC debut, coming off of a Soloyev stretch submission win. What even is that? What is that? Don't even know. Said he's never tapped anyone with that. Yeah, it's kind of a rarey. And his first Dana White's Contender Series, because as we can see there, he's 1-1, was actually against Mansour Abdel Malik, which, as we know, he has been really finding his way in the UFC. So hey, it's all right. We can move on from that. And since then, he is on a 2-fight win streak. He is a very subbarino, subis through and through. Nea lost 63% of his wins, but he really mixes it up in there, If things are working on the feet, we're going to stay on the feet. If we've got to transition to the ground, let's go there, whatever. We're just going to do it. And he is somebody who does say that he is looking for the finish. Yeah, it may be common to look for the finish, but not everybody does. That's not everybody's focus. But he's trying to find that wherever it's manifesting itself, and he does pretty well, considering 63% of his wins are via submission. He's a total animal lover through and through. Rest in peace to his ferret, Richard. Oh my gosh, that's like the cutest ferret that I have ever seen. Oh my gosh, 8 years on this planet. We love Richard, so rest in peace, Richard. Wes is still, I believe, a bartender at this moment, so hasn't quite, broken in the way financially because, it takes a while to actually get paid, unfortunately. So he is managing a lot with his life, really, hoping to get some time in at the Performance Institute. I bet he's been really enjoying himself there in the Performance Institute in La Ciudad de Mexico. It's a lot of fun. I would love to have access to something like that, too. So he's a bartender. He's working it, making it work. And he's also swearing all the time. This guy has got one big potty mouth. and a lot of good vibes. And he'll be going against Damian Pinas, who is also making his UFC debut. I believe he is the first person to represent Aruba in the UFC. That is so cool. Oh no, I'm gonna sneeze. So, the Baba Yoga, you may be wondering, what is that? And according to the internet, it is a creature, a witch-like creature, a witch demon that flies around in like this bucket, and she's got like rooster feet or something like that, and she eats children. It's just a menacing creature. So that's what he named himself after. So he did get into some street fights as a kid, sure, but really found the MMA world, see a video of Mike Tyson, and he tried to give the old football a go, but he says that he wasn't really amazing at it. So transitioned to boxing, and from there, eventually found his way to MMA with that striking foundation. Still so new to the sport, only 23 years old, only been at it for a handful of years. And yeah, since it's hard to find fights in Aruba, he headed over to Brazil. So that's where he's been getting his reps in. But hey, we gotta say we are still representing Aruba, of course, as always. Love that. So here we are in the UFC debut, coming off of a knockout win, which is 88% of his wins. This guy is putting people to sleep. His only loss was a disqualification, a little bit of a mix-up. You know how it is. Sometimes we throw a little bit of an illegal kick here and there. It happens. It happens. We're new to the sport. We're learning, and we love it. We learn, we grow, we move on. He's actually not only never seen a decision, but has also never seen a round 3. So we're talking boom, boom, quick finisher, definitely a firework kind of energy, heavy hands, super rangy with it too. We'll mix in the kicks, because before he made his way to full MMA, he had that kickboxing transition as well. So very leggy, and his mentality is it's me or you. It's a me or it's you. Someone is not gonna make it out of there. It's me or it's you. Not everyone is gonna make it out of the cage. Oh, it's me, it's you, it's me, or it's you. Oh, he likes being picked up. We're starting this night off with fireworks. It's a little bit conflicting for me, as it often is because both these guys seem really cool. Yeah, to be honest, they both seem really cool, really down to earth, really radical, and they both are just fighting for the exact same thing. It's a beautiful thing in that sense, where you have two guys who are really focused, have been working so hard, and have found their way to this position, very much so similar, not just in debut, but an experience, but so different, coming from different worlds. You just want to see them both win. You do. You want to see everybody win here. Not gonna happen. Someone's gonna come out on top, and I have a feeling this is gonna be a real banger. Both these guys are very exciting fighters. They really get going, very offensive kind of people, just all over too. With Wes, he's really mixing in the styles a lot. Like if things are working on the feet, he's going to go there, but he's described, and if he's feeling like he's not really hurting his opponent, like it's not really getting to him, he's like, okay, I'll switch it up. So it should be a very fun, very diverse, very exciting. This is such a big moment for both these guys. We got a double debut, and yeah, it's fireworks. Not likely to make it to a decision. Then we have some featherweights on our hands. Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. Eric King Silva is looking for that first UFC win. Yeah, a lot of us are here in this card. Us, not me, but I like to let myself in there because I'm living vicariously through, of course. It is unfortunate coming off of a leg injury loss, to Naimov, but we're moving on. It's been nearly 2 years, so ouchie. Really hope that he's okay. That's very unfortunate when we got injuries that take us out. I'm imagining that's what has kept him out for this long. All of his losses are actually via finish. It's because he's very chaotic. He really brings it in there, and I mean that in the best way. Like, he is going to come forward and he is going to be aggressive and explosive. And so he has most of his wins coming from some sort of finish. 44% subby, 33% knockouty, and then a little bit of decision handled in there. But he is a pressure fighter. He is running at you. And he is going against Francis the Fire Marshall. Happy early birthday. It's coming up right around the corner. I'm sure that he is excited that he will actually get to celebrate his birthday, won't have to be cutting weight. That's the worst. He's from New Jersey. That's cool. And he's coming off of a splitty loss to Myron Santos and maybe some of us think potentially he was robbed. It was a pretty close fight, but I do think that Francis Marshall put on a little bit more of a hurt show in that one. Let me know what you think if you recall. He's a top team frequent, but I'm not quite sure if he is officially migrated over there as his new gym. We don't know this, but it's been a lot of pressure for Francis considering we're 1-3 in last four, super critical moment, but I bet it's extra frustrating because it's a lot of splitty. It's a lot of splitty. So, yeah, splitty, even in the win. So, very, very tense. It's been super, super tense. Really a lot of great fights though for Francis Marshall. Really puts it on there. Subby sub half of the way and protects himself well with not a loss. He's got a handful of decisions as well because he stays really light on the feet, mixes it up. But when he's mixing it up, I would say level change wise. Because when he is striking, he does prefer to hit you in the head, really prioritizing his hands and prioritizing hands to the head. Not too much body attack, but he's willing to step in short notice. Okay, he'll do anything. Pretty sure he stepped in like 10 days notice. This time we get another full camp in a row, so we'll see Fire Marshal at his fullest here. I'm expecting Eric Silva to just kind of run at Francis and, do his go, 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 explosion, explosion. It's, we have some potential for Francis to kind of pull us into a submission moment with a little bit of that, get crafty with it. He's good at adjusting and super light on his feet. So even when he is moving backwards, he can find some pretty good shots. But yeah, I'm pretty interested to see what Francis does with, and I feel like is an inevitable pressure that Silva will be putting on. You never know, obviously. You never know. And you never know in general. But this should be a good one and a really tense spot for both guys. Both guys coming off of a loss. Eric looking for his first win. And Francis Marshall looking to just, I guess, course correct in a way. Like, get on that winning streak. Let's get on it. Let's recover from that lossy. And get on the winny. We were supposed to have a women's flyweight bout next between Sofia Montenegro and Ernesta Karakajit. Oh man. But Sofia, unfortunately, has been removed as of today. I'm assuming injury, and so Regina Tarrant is stepping in her place. I'm pretty sad about this because I really did want to see this fight. I feel like Sofia and Ernesta, they're very similar, stand-up preference, and just like, really aggressive about it. And Sofia, I am in particular really excited about, so sad. But we still, whatever we saved, we got a catch weight. And shout out to Regina. Don't have the scoop on Regina, but Ernesta, heavy-handed. She is a very long fighter. Super, super long, super rangy, and uses it. A Hexagon MMA champ. She is 1-1 in the UFC, coming off of a splitty win, and she's pretty mad about that performance, maybe being a little too hard on herself. She's got a lot of split / majority wins, so things have been tough, have been tense. She planned to stay busy, at least that was her wishes upon that win last January, but we have not seen her since. I doubt that it's a lack of desire, but it's been probably a frustrating attempt to get a fight booked, and glad we're here. Okay, at least the fight didn't fall through. That would have been real sad. So she is striking preferred, never been to subland, not on either side, not a win nor a loss, and decisions are very common with 67% of her wins. So her lone loss was in her UFC debut. Under those bright lights, am I right? She is very light on the feet, keeps it like real dancey with it, again, using her length really, really effectively. So we are going to see a long and rangy Ernesta, because that is what she brings. Yes, super rangy, super fun, grinding you out. I just learned this right now, as we're filming, that the fight fell through. So we'll learn about Regina when we see her out there. Next up, a featherweight matchup between Douglas Silva de Andrade and Javier Reyes. Veteran on our hands. We don't have a lot of veterans on our hands here in this card. We got a few. I guess Brandon Moreno is edging towards, veteran status at this point. How 90s. I look like the Backstreet Boys when I wear it this way. Yep. Anyway, De Silva, veteran. He's been here since 2014 in the UFC, fought in promotions that I'm guaranteed don't exist anymore. Coming off of a loss to Miles Jones, bit of an edgy fight. Miles Jones, he's always looking for that one punch. He's always looking for it. Yep. And that was kind of the story of the fight, being wary of that. I said it's Jones, but it's Johns. Whatever. He's focused really on giving his family a better life. So that's what he's thinking about in there when he's trying to dial it in. He's fighting for his family. He did have a fight that was scheduled in 2025, but it did get scrapped. So again, Douglas is one of our fighters that has been on a pretty extended layoff here. So wishing that he's, hoping he's coming in with great health, feeling better, because imagine it's something injury related. It's been a little while. It's been a little bit of time, but here we are. He is a knockout guy. Very patient though with it. Sub rare. 67% of his losses are via decision. He's a very, very durable person. Yeah, not some guy who's easy to finish. He does have a decision win over Marlon Vera. Shout out to that. Okay, shout out to that. Very patient, really studying you during that round one, and throughout that throwing in those low kicks. So, not letting himself get too behind, in terms of the strike count, because we're throwing in the leg kicks, boom, 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 adding it up, and we got to watch for that in round one. And he is going against Javier Reyes, who's making his UFC debut. Get the debut counter going. Okay, we got another one on our hands. Belair. He's got his own gym or something, because the Blair team is his gym. So Mr. Blair Reyes, he is coming off of a knockout not too long ago, looking to get right back in there. He can be a little bit of a slow starter as well, but it kind of depends. So a wealth of experience. So he may be making his UFC debut, but you look at that record, 22-5, and you think, yeah, this guy's kind of been there. Kind of been there, kind of done that. So approaching a bit of veteran status himself, just not in the promotion of the UFC. So he gets a lot of finishes, definitely. 45 from knockout, 36 from sub. And he really likes that up and down. Up and down, up and down, transitioning between being on the ground and standing in the feet. He's a very mix it up type of guy, like a true mixer. Yeah, he's like a KitchenAid. He's just mixing it up. Sometimes those hands go down a little bit too, though. Gotta watch for that. I'm expecting a patient technical battle. Of course, you never know. Gotta trademark that phrase. You never know. Yeah, you never know. But I do expect a technical one, because these guys do have a history of being very technical fighters. Again, a wealth of experience coming on both sides here. So while Javier is making his UFC debut with a pretty stacked record, so it adds up. This is, I would say, pretty decent matchmaking. Both guys leaning pretty heavy on the finishes. Definitely finishers. If there is a finish, I would expect it to be later, because, again, historically, tentative starters on our hands. We got 2 tentative starters. Not boring, just tentative. So this should be a high level one. I don't expect this one to be unhinged per se. Both of them can definitely get nasty with it. Super durable, very, very tough, but they're calculated. They're calculated and very technical. And then we got a men's bantamweight, Christian Quinones and Chris Moutinho. Christian Problema. Okay, we got a few problemas on our hands here. Woo woo. He is finding his way in the UFC, coming off of a rear naked choke loss to Briony Barcelos. Happens. 2 RNC losses in a row. Because Christian is going to go for it. That's the thing about Christian, is he's going to go for it any level. Any level. He is also a mixer. Before that, he had a 5-fight win streak, so riding a real high. We're going to get back to that. He had a bout scheduled in 2025 that fell through, potentially due to injury, so haven't seen him since 2024. That's crazy. It's been 2 years. Oh no. So that's tough. Hoping he's well. He's a finisher. Yeah, we got a finisher on our hands. 56% of wins via knockout. So 56% of his wins are coming via knockout, because he's really going to go for it if he smells the blood in there. And 60% of his losses are sub, because he's definitely willing to chase you into the ground and take that risk. Yeah, he's going to take that risk. Never lost a decision, and that's a smaller percentage of his wins. Sub is smaller than that, I believe. But yeah, so he's decision, not super common, but has never lost it. So if you take him there, it's been looking good for him. Super bouncy, always looking for that takedown. Again, he loves that ground and pound, loves to go for it, and willing to get really close in. He's going to close that distance, and he's an anime fan. And he's going against Chris Moutinho. Very similar. These guys just come with a whole wealth of skills, okay? The whole kitchen sink. We have it written in there. We got a southpaw, though, here. Southpaw priority. He's looking for his first UFC win. It's been a bit of a rough and tough and tumble road for Chris, but he's got what it takes. Coming off of a pretty rough KO loss to Malcolm Wellmaker, it happens, and we're getting right back to it. He is a leaning towards knockout kind of guy, 43% of his wins, and just like his opponent, has never lost a decision, and a very similar percentage of wins in that. They're both hovering around that 30-some%. Pretty cool though that they've never lost a decision. Colorful hair, I don't think he's rocking with that anymore. Rats, I want to bring that back. That green is crazy. That green is crazy. I might dye my hair that green if it wouldn't, destroy everything. Because if you do that to your hair, it's a lot of damage. So you got to cut it pretty, soon after that. Unless you're just going to live with the. It's different when you have short hair. It's different, yeah. So he's a colorful guy, colorful individual. He's got a really cool tattoo that is. I love it so much because it's a Squirtle and Leonardo like combo. What is that? Double turtle combo. Double turtle tattoo. Wonder if turtles are his favorite animal or if it's just he just really likes Squirtle and Leonardo. That's cute. Chris is definitely war ready. Like Christian, they were both super war ready, and he is a nightmare against the fence. Like he's gonna do the kind of things against the fence that you just would never want to experience. So again, kitchen sink type energy. So we're gonna see elbows, we're gonna see knees, we're gonna see punches to the body. He might even stomp on your foot, and then just other things that maybe you wouldn't like and wouldn't like his hands in your face. Just really making it freaking comfortable. He makes it so uncomfortable in there. Absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare, and nothing really phases him. So it's very hard to deter Chris. There's no fear, there's no hesitancy. Lorosenko approved. This is a really fun matchup, and depending on how it goes, we could get a fight of the night with this one. Yeah, so both guys have a very similar attitude of like, let's let this fly, okay? Let's let our freak flags fly. And I think part of the reason why neither of them have lost a decision is because they both managed to do so much in their fights, like so much. Again, everything but the kitchen sink is going to be thrown at you from both of these gentlemen, which is just so exciting. I think that we have some potential to see some crazy action all over the place. And I know it is going to get a little unhinged. It is going to get a little crazy. We are going to get a little wild, and I love it. We should be really looking forward to the times where these guys are in the pocket. It's going to get crazy. They both have that in them, and they're both just so tough and so undeterred. So we have two very offensive people on our hands with this one. And I'm hoping for a lot. I think, again, with, Chris still looking for that first UFC win and Christian having such a big layoff, sometimes that, as I'm often saying, can really ignite like a fire in you. Like you want that win even more when the feeling of it is further. So really excited about this one. This might be the fight I'm most looking forward to in the prelims. Hard to say. It was going to be the Sofia and Ernesta, but that fell through. We got a great women's bantamweight next. This is very highly contentious. We're battling in the top 10. Eileen Perez versus Macy Chiasson. Eileen Perez is a lot of fun. Fiona. Is that like a Shrek thing? Fiona? Because remember that scene where she fights all the people who are trying to get her, Shrek's gonna intervene and she's like, I got this, and it was really cool. I think that's maybe where that's from. Anyway, she really wanted to be like her brothers growing up, and they played rugby. And I imagine that maybe there just weren't a lot of opportunities for girls to play rugby, and so she went to Kung Fu. And she started that at age 11 and made her transition to BJJ at age 20. So she is a lifelong martial artist. She's been in the UFC since 2022 and has been doing really swell for herself. Coming off of a decision win against Caro Rosa, and that is pretty impressive stuff because Rosa, very defensive fighter, really good at protecting herself, never really wears a lot of damage in her fights. And Eileen was able to get the points in, get the control, and be the big man, especially on the ground and landing in the shots when she needed to. So she is on a 5-fight win streak. So that one loss is 5 fights ago, and she has never lost a decision. So really putting on that energy. 50% of her wins that way. She is definitely someone who can grind you out, who will really function as a wet blanket for sure. She stays super light on her feet, making sure to pepper in those kicks all along the way. And of her 2 losses, one of them is a sub and one of them is a DQ loss for twerking. I'm just kidding. I think it was actually an illegal knee, but she did get suspended for twerking, which is so, I find that really ridiculous because I've seen a lot of people do inappropriate gestures and nothing. So she got punished very unfairly for that, and that's really dumb. She is a level changer, as mentioned, and really pushes you backwards. So a lot of time how she secures that takedown is she gets people on the back foot. And as DC has noted, that, when you're kind of running backwards, it's a little bit hard to defend yourself from a takedown. So when people looking for that takedown can get their opponent really on the back foot, perfect chance to really slip them off their feet. And she is going against Macy Chiasson, who is new to being a mama. Shout out to that. Shout out to parenthood. She is a really interesting person. So she found her way to the UFC through via Tough, as many interesting personalities do, and has been here since 2018. Right now, coming off of a decision loss to Yana Santos, and unfortunately, because she missed weight, and that we hate to see, especially honestly for Santos, who has had to fight a lot of opponents who have been missing weight. What is up with that? So that fight against Santos had a lot of really good aggressive moments on both sides. That was a really good scrap. It looked like Santos, I think, was just ahead in the strikes a little bit throughout the fight, but Chiasson, again, never gave up, was really going for that submission right at the end, had a lot of really powerful moments in the clinch as well. Again, recently left Fortis for Ranger MMA, changing gyms. Not sure if that has to do with the missed weight or just needing to mix things up in general. Chiasson's so big on the circling. You'll see her looking to create a lot of really interesting, diverse angles. She's a cerebral fighter, really trying to use that big brain of hers in there, but gonna put on that aggression no matter what. Performance of the night type, like you can really count on her to really put the gas pedal on. And she had a little bit of inactivity during 2023, but at this point, that's ages ago. At this point, that's prehistoric history. Okay, I'm sorry. She's really flirty. She's very sassy. She's Southern Belle, and she has a bachelor's in biology. This is going to be a really fun, high-level fight. I do suspect that Chiasson is going to do everything she can to keep Eileen away from her, because I think Eileen is going to be looking to lean a lot on that really strong BJJ, that really wet blanket wrestling that she has, because Chiasson definitely, she has the submission game, but is more of a striker, wants to ground you out in there, more of a grind you out against the fence type as well. Chiasson is fancy. Okay, she's fancy. She'll be looking to get fancy with it, but if we do close the distance, I do suspect that she's going to be doing her circling thing and trying to keep Perez out of the way. But Perez, really good with the kick, so should be really interesting. I think we're going to get an exciting fight. Both these ladies definitely exciting fighters, both pretty, I would say, offensive. Chiasson maybe trying to counter-strike a little bit more, but they are very aggressive, both of them, so we should get an aggressive fight. I'm happy about this one for sure. I think this is great matchmaking. Really looking forward to potential clinch moments as well, because I think there's a lot of mystery as far as what could happen in the clinch, since Chiasson really likes it in there, really gets those knees going, but Eileen is just so strong. And lastly, we have our featured prelim. Last on the prelims, Ryan Gondra and Jose Daniel Medina, middleweights. Here is our second problema. That's funny, right? That is like what I was trying to say last week when I was trying to talk about like how there's certain names that are like generic or like they're just more common, and being the problem. That's a really good example. I wish I would have thought of that. But here we have it. There's two problems on this card. There's two, and specifically problemas, okay? So he is here for his UFC debut, coming off the Dana White's Contender Series, as many of these fighters are. Really strong TKO win, ouchie ouchie, 7-fight win streak. So, that loss was long ago. He has never lost a submission or a decision, so that lone loss via knockout. He's a brawler, super hooky, and new to being a father. And talking about being a family man, he actually got his mom into BJJ, and that's really cool because she seems to be actually really going for it, not just coming for a class, but really got her into the lifestyle, which is that's just really great. We got to spread the good word of martial arts, and he's doing that. But yeah, he is very brawly, very hooky, just looking to get a little bit wild and crazy. And he's going against Jose Daniel Medina from Bolivia. And there was a flag there and it disappeared. That's sad. Chicho is looking for that first UFC win. Gosh dang it, coming off of a RNC loss to the old Todorovic. Dusko, he's crafty with it. So we're on a 4-fight losing streak. It's do or die. Okay, it's do or die status. I'm really glad that he is getting another opportunity. I was worried that it was a 3-fight contract and that they were gonna, give him the snip, but he's here. And I'm really excited about that because Jose is a really fabulous fighter, really puts on a great showcase. Again, before this 4-fight losing streak, he was on a 7-fight winning streak. So we can get back to that. He is a knockout kind of guy, really manifesting those knockouts well, and most of his losses are coming via decision. And I think when you see that, you can see this guy's a real dog. Okay, he's very, very tough, super durable. He's also a veterinarian. Okay, so this is another time where we have two medical professionals who are fighting. This is crazy. We got an orthopedic surgeon and we got a veterinarian, and they were fighting together, I believe, on the last card. So that's pretty cool. He has got that heart for sure, the fighting spirit. He does have it. The Zach Reese fight is a really great example of that, and we know Zach Reese. Zach Reese is really, I feel like, climbing a steady ladder. Okay, and Zach Reese is a threat. He's a threat, and that is a really great fight. Really sparky, really sparky. Those hands can get a little droopy though. It can drop a little bit, which makes me nervous. Makes me nervous. A 4-fight losing streak is tough. Okay, that's tough cookies. That is tough cookies, but we're so happy he's got this opportunity. I really think he's going to do or die it. He's going to do or die it in there. That is what I'm hoping for. And Ryan, really pushy, really brawly. I do think that this one's going to end in a finish. That's just my thoughts. Just my thoughts. I do think that it will be more likely that it is earlier, because I think that Ryan especially is just going to go gas on him. He's going to go gas on him. But I got to say, I am pulling for Jose. I want to see that 4-fight losing streak end. And Ryan's got time. Okay, he's got time. He's making his debut. He's not 0-3 in the UFC. It's more dire. Oh, so we gotta pull a little bit for Jose, but we're wishing everybody well. We always are. And we're happy to see what Ryan showcases under the big lights, too. Featured prelim style. Rockabye Monty in the treetop. Isn't that cute? Not all cats really like to be picked up, you know? And you gotta respect that. When a cat doesn't want to be picked up, you can't just force him. You can't just make him get picked up. But this guy, he likes it. Oh. Oh. Oh, little hand dance. Yeah. You're so cute. First fight on our main card is Santiago Luna and Angel Pacheco. What's up, border boy? That is pretty funny. I think it's because he's from Tijuana. So right by the border, there's actually a mural of him in Tijuana. Really pretty, really cool. Great honor. You know, he's so young and he already has a mural. That's fun. He's right now coming off of a round 1 left hooky hammer fist knockout of Kwang Lee, and that is pretty cool. Pretty impressive stuff. Never been to the land of decision, never heard of her, never tasted defeat, and he is a Sabaro, so 56% of his wins via submission, and he really likes that rear naked choke. Rear naked choke! Remember from Never Back Down? Rear naked choke! Okay, sorry. Let me know if you see that movie. Okay. So he's on a 10-fight win streak. Undefeated in that professional career and absolutely tearing. He is one of, I think he's the youngest. He's the youngest fighter on the card. He's got to be, right? He's only 21 years old, and he is looking to make a big statement with his second ever UFC appearance being on a main card. That's super cool. And he's going against Angel Pacheco, another one of the New England cartel fighters. So we got a handful of people from that gym who are fighting on this card. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's kind of like a mass training camp type deal. So he's in the reverse position of his opponent, okay? He is coming off of a decision loss, so looking to bounce back with that first UFC win and get rid of that 2-fight losing streak. All of his losses are via decision, and his wins are pretty evenly split between knockout and submission, leaning with his knockout with a little bit more. So both these guys have a similar fight record, but there is a pretty massive age gap between them. Angel is like 13 years older than Santiago and has definitely seen some of the grimy, nastier sides of MMA. You know, we're talking sandpit fighting. Okay. You know, whatever it takes. Whereas Santiago is coming into this world when it has been a little bit more mainstream. It's still a little fringy. Yeah, we know that. But this one's really cool because both guys have never won a decision. So Santiago's never even been to decision, doesn't know what that is, never heard of it, never heard of a decision. And Angel, that is somewhere he's never gotten the win. All of his wins are in the finish category, and both of these guys pretty splitty itty, so leaning on that knockout, but they have the submission in the back pocket, and they're both a little rear naked choke focused. So very similar. I'm expecting this one to be all gas, no brakes for Sure. I mean, that's just how these gentlemen are. They're going to go crazy in those early rounds. That's what I anticipate. This is not going to be a tentative start. I don't think so. I don't think so. But interestingly, both guys never got a decision win and they've also never been finished. Could this be one of these fighters' first ever loss via finish, considering that that's how they've both respectively only gotten their wins? Or is it going to be someone's first ever decision win? I think we're going to have a first. That's all I'm going to say on that. And then our flyweight showcase begins with Emmanuel Rodriguez and Kevin Borjas. Get the debut counter going because we got another one with He-Man. Hello, here he is. UFC debut coming off of a knockout win because that's how he rolls. 83% of his wins via knockout. What in the world? Never been into a land of decision. We got a lot of those, I guess, on this card. His lone sub win was also in round 1. So we're talking blitz. Never tasted defeat. Oh, but let's put a little asterisk on that because there was a recent exhibition fight that he did lose, but it was a splitty. Let it be known. Let it be known it was a splitty. He has been putting in some rounds too with Moreno. So this is somebody that is getting that, taste of championship level material when he is in those sparring rounds. So that piques my curiosity a lot for sure that he is one of Brandon Moreno's partners that he's been trading with. But he's not just putting in reps with Brandon Moreno. Daniel Cormier is his coach. So in that last fight he had on the Dana White's Contender Series, you could see a lot of threatening the level change and working really well and getting confusing, being hard to pin down while he's on the outside. And when he finds his moment, that's when the scary, nasty, terrifying hooks will unleash and you will see how powerful he really is for this division. Well, I mean, powerful in general, but that he really stands out in this division. And he's going against Kevin Borjas, who is another Dana White's Contender Series alum, a couple years ahead of his opponent, and is coming off a decision loss to Sumadarji, who went Sumadarji on him. And Kevin couldn't find his preferred method of finishing that fight. 80% of his wins coming via knockout. He's very jabby with it, and there's a lot of high striking volume in Kevin's fights. So he is really going to lay those punches out and really rolls with it, which we love to see. He's really rolly, very boxing with it. The punches are just coming off, popping off. So not a subber, not a submarine. His grandfather is his hero, and he actually used to work in a pastry shop. So he's got a whole wealth of skills. I bet he knows how to prove pastries. I still don't know what proving is, but that's the thing that happens in pastry. This should be another primarily striking matchup. I think actually really all striking. Like we may get like a drop to an attack from top position, but both not really super subby. But I am curious again because there was a lot of level change threats that were coming from Emmanuel, but Kevin not on the sub train. He is, I think, going to be looking to keep this one standing. I think they both will. I think we got a boxing fight on our hands, folks. We got an uppercut extraordinaire versus a jabby McJabberson, and we're really excited about Emmanuel's debut. And we love an uppercut aficionado, but yes, expecting a really fun striking matchup. Pretty curious to see if Rodriguez is going to have a patient style with it or if he's going to get crazy and try and match the volume that Borjas is often putting out there. Wee woo! Watch out, this will be a good one. Alright, we got some great flyweight scrapadoos coming up next. Edgar Chairez and Felipe Bunes. Puro Chicale is so much fun. He is a switchy. He is crazy with the switching too because we will close a 6-foot gap of distance in a matter of milliseconds. Well, so it seems. Yep. All about risk and getting a lot of reward in there. He is 2-2 and 1 no contest so far. Always putting on a great show. Coming off of a rear naked choke win over CJ Vergara, performance of the night. Heck yeah. He is a football fan. Shout out Club America. Yeah, okay. And he is a finisher. Yeah. And we love Edgar because it's crazy. It's wild. It is insane. So a lot of knockouts, but really a subber. Really a subarino. I mean, almost 70% of his wins via subby. He has never won a decision because he is complete chaos, but he's also durable and very strong. So those are the majority of his losses as well. Pretty much everything that he's going for is behind that jab. So similar to Kevin Borjas, he is setting up lots behind that jab. It's jabby, yabby, yabby, and it is energy. Expect a lot of lateral movement. And as a submarino, he is particularly crafty on his back. Like I'm always trying to say, horse guys, they're coming our way. 'Cause you can't have a UFC card without a horse guy. You really can't. And he'll be going against another subby submarino, Filipino, Philip Bunes, a former LFA champion. He's coming off of a decision loss to Rafael Esteban. It happens. And he is a straight right searcher. So oftentimes hiding behind that jab, but really, really looking for that straight right. Like his opponent, he is very subbulent, and they have about the same amount of submission wins percentage, right? 64. He's an armbar specialist, so yikes. And with that, right, as an armbar specialist, he's pretty crafty on his back, just like his opponent. So 63% of his losses are via decision. He is a massive Dragon Ball Z fan. You're going to get a little bit of that, right? He'll do a tribute if he wins. You know, they're actually both Dragon Ball Z fans. Two Dragon Ball Z fanboys are gonna get crazy. It's gonna be kind of Dragon Ball Z energy. Well, maybe not, because Dragon Ball Z has a lot of really slow episodes where you get like the same line of dialogue like 8 times. So, not in that regard, because these guys are quick. They do bring a very flyweight-esque type energy to the fight. Like, just so much energy, lots of volume, and we love that about our flyweights, okay? Because we get scrappy, punches in bunches. This should be really crazy. I'm very curious is if we do get some moments on the ground, because both these guys very, very crafty in the submission category. If we do, it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a nail biter if we get on the ground. Lots of rolling, I expect. And that's kind of what I want to see. I want to see how the submission game stacks against these two guys, but really well-rounded and really chaotic in the best way possible. This one will be high pace. You know, Edgar, he might come out with a flying knee to start the fight out. You don't know, and Felipe's down for that, okay? And then we have a prospect versus veteran matchup. We got a handful of those. King Green, he is the veteran on this card, versus Daniel Zellhuber. I think Daniel Zellhuber is so awesome. I think he's got a really bright future. He is a BJJ black belt, and he has been in the UFC since 2022 and has had a lot of really interesting fights and a bit of adversity. So he's coming off of a decision loss to Michael Johnson, and I do recall he was pretty outdone in that fight, and there were not a lot of adjustments that were being made, which I think Zellhuber can kind of struggle with in general, kind of not making an adjustment if he's finding a bit of struggle town in the fight. Not deterred, but not exactly changing the game plan. And so Michael Johnson's power, if you know Michael Johnson, he's known for dropping people on their bum. Yeah, he's known for dropping you right on your bum because he is exceedingly powerful. And that was kind of the story of the fight. It was like Michael's power and just a little bit, you know, just outdid Daniel. But here we go. So trying to bounce back. Daniel is capable of some really awesome fight magic. His fight against Ribovic in 2024 was my fight of the year, many people's fight of the year. It was a splitty, and it was one of those split wars that you just have a hard time forgetting. I mean, both guys just bit down on that mouthpiece and made it happen. That was such an exciting fight with so much capital V violence. That's why he's got that capital V violence. And he went on a 3 performance of the night bonus streak in a row. Pretty cool. And this is actually, you know, his second veteran in a row. So Daniel Zellhuber has not had an easy ride. I mean, going from one veteran to the next, they are not giving this guy an easy route. Okay, so getting through, he's got a very spunky fight style. We're talking calf slicers, we're talking knee TKOs. When you're someone who's really tall like Daniel, knocking someone out with your knee is a little bit more plausible, right? Just a little bit more, but we gotta give it to him. He's still never been finished, and it's been scary because I've seen 2 fights where Daniel has been dropped on his bum, and I got, oh no. I went, oh no. I went, oh no. So he fell down on his bum after getting hit hard, but that's the thing about Daniel. He's gonna pop right back up like nothing happened, and he's not gonna stop walking you down. We love that. He's going to walk you down, and still, again, along the lines of being pretty lengthy, he's got a pretty good takedown defense because he gets out of the way really well. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? And he is going against Bobby King Green. Okay, so King Green is veteran status, right? He's been a pro since 2008. It's pretty interesting. So pretty close to when he was making his pro debut, maybe it even was, but he hasn't been in Mexico City for a fight in like 20 years, right? Can we believe that? And it's kind of a really big moment for him. He's got a lot of love for La Ciudad de Mexico, and we love that from King Green. He's such an interesting person. He found his way here through Strikeforce, RIP. RIP Strikeforce. He used to be a King of the Cage champion. He is King Green, though that's back when he was Bobby. And he has been in the UFC since forever. Okay, since forever. Currently coming off of a decision win. That was a great bounce back. Really awesome. King Green is just a fighter through and through. Very honest about, he just wants that money, right? He wants a better life for himself, because the truth is, King Green started this MMA journey before it was even remotely cool. Okay, so he's been grinding, making a better life for himself, and making it freaking work. He has got a lot of loyal fans because he has got a really awesome style and a commitment to just show out. Short notice fill-in, 7 performance bonuses, and I love that they're split between performance of the night and fight of the night. So yeah, he's a show stealer for sure. The most significant strikes in UFC lightweight history, though it's a little bit more than what it shows right there, and it's the 4th most in the UFC in general. I mean, we're talking veteran. Like, he is veteran. He's so active with his striking, but don't you sleep on those submission skills. It's King Green. He knows business. His wins are really evenly split, and he's always going to land a little bit more than he absorbs because he's crafty with it. And you love to see that from somebody whose hands will drop down to their waist. Like, it's pretty fun to see. He gets a little Dominic Cruz with it. Like, he's a little, put a little swag on it. Like, we like that. Takedown defense, like his opponent, is exceedingly sharp, and he has essentially seen it all. Yep, he's seen everything. So this is a super fun veteran versus prospect matchup. Zellhuber in a bit of a tough spot, looking to bounce back from a loss of Michael Johnson. Can he really handle when he's got someone in front of him with a crazy wealth of knowledge? We know he can, but he's really got to demonstrate that. And I think he's got to demonstrate how he can make adjustments, because that has been a little bit of a struggle for Daniel, but he is a star through and through. So if we can make those adjustments, this could be a crazy one. It's King Green, so we know we got a crazy fight on our hands. And I think with the takedown defense being pretty solid and both guys leaning a little bit more on the striking, it should be an up top battle, but they both are very confident in their submission skills, so you never know. You never know. I'm really looking forward to this one because I think both guys have a very distinct, very quirky style, and they're really willing to put it all on the line. That means we made it to the co-main event. Uh-oh. Watch out. We got some bantamweight baddies. This is going to be awesome. Marlon Vera against David Martinez. Cheeto, Cheeto, Cheeto. Cheeto, Cheeto, Cheeto. I'm doing a lot of singing today. I think that's me trying to cope with the fact that I'm sick. Okay, because you're not seeing it, but there's a lot of sneezing going on. Cheeto, he's southpaw priority, but you know that he can do both stances really, really well. He's very fluid. He's coming off of a split loss to Ayman Zahabi. That was, maybe it could have used a little bit more gas, but tough to say. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, though, which is, that's frustrating. He was supposed to fight Mario Bautista 2 times, but it was canceled. Are we okay? I wonder if we'll ever get that. I wonder. I can't stop singing. This is crazy. Okay, so Marlon Vera, his reputation is that he's a dog. He's never been finished. Dog. And he is a bit of a sub-ish, right? Sub-ish, so 43% of his wins. And he's willing to take his time in there. I know that some people say maybe that's to a fault. Because, the reputation is that he'll often give away the first round. Not sure I would put it that way, but he is often losing the first round, taking his time to really suss it out, because he always has an evolving game plan, kind of a Petr Yan situation in a way. Petr Yan, he is known for being like a computer, but specifically for playing the later rounds a little bit differently than the first. And I see that same thing with Marlon Vera for sure. He recently opened up his own gym as well, so that's kind of cool. That's a new leaf. He has a really big heart. We know that. Marlon Vera, deep, beautiful soul. Again, I don't know him personally, so it would be pretty devastating to find out otherwise. But it seems as though he is a very, very deep individual, and he has got a lot of compassion. Got a lot of compassion, fighting for his family, and he's a horse guy. Okay, horse guys, let me know if I missed any. Because we do have a handful of cowboys that it wasn't mentioned explicitly are horse guys, but if you're a cowboy, you're kind of a. But yeah, horse guy. I'm pretty sure his profile picture on Instagram is with a horse. And he is going against Prospect of the Year for 2025, David Black Spartan Martinez. Oh yeah. Pretty crazy that he is coming off of a decision win to Rob Font and now is in the co-main event position. I mean, when you outclass the Fontinator, it's reasonable, but he has really been propelled to the top. Absolutely. And it's crazy that you can have 2 fights in the UFC and already be ranked number 10. What are the rankings? What is happening? What is happening? But I'm all for it because I think David Martinez is the future. Yeah, you heard it here. He's the future, just like Ian Gary. He is an orthopedic surgeon, so he's going to break your bones and then he's going to fix them. That's pretty crazy. And, he is a resident of La Ciudad de Mexico, and so the nurses, the doctors, all the folks from the hospital are going to be there cheering him on. I think that's like the cutest thing ever. He does have a lot of leg kicks, so he's very leggy. We're talking all the way to the head or leg on leg. He's just very kicky. His only loss is via split decision, so he knows war. And he's not really a subber, so not a win, not a loss, not really a threat either there. He's a knockout preferred, so 77% of his wins are coming this way. But when you ask him about it, he's always actually searching for the knockout, and you can kind of see that in his fighting style as well. He is just very strong and very powerful, and it doesn't seem like he's often overextending himself, but it's kind of just manifesting. So really powerful guy, very, very powerful. He's a fan of Yoel Romero, so that's one of his inspirations. So look out for any, similarities there. I think that that's pretty cool, and, Yoel that's a strong man. So you can see that karate stance, right? Shout out Romero. So he hits that karate stance, and that's where those kicks can really fly off of him. And if you don't know, his sister Melissa is also signed to the UFC, so they are a UFC sibling duo, which is pretty cool. And as mentioned, it has been a really quick rise to the top. It's kind of, I don't know, a little mind-blowing to see that he's here already, but I did say that he was my prospect of the year, or at least one of the nominees for 2025. So I'm not surprised that we are here testing that out. This is pretty exciting for a lot of reasons. I am definitely a fan of David. I think that he has got just such a great vibe. Like, the fighting is incredible, and he really backs it up with a lovely personality. He seems like a really cool guy, and he's got just a really humble attitude about things. All respect is being thrown to Cheeto. Like, he would never say a bad thing about him, and I like that he admits to being nervous. It reminds me of Ramiz Brahima, how he's always saying, like, he gave me nightmares, like, it's so scary, and that just, I think that's just really cool. It's really genuine, and I think it's cool to admit to having these nerves when you're fighting as the hometown hero, because that's so much pressure, and we're only human. And David just comes across so human, and that's how Cheeto is, and we know Cheeto so well. So we got 2 humans with really big hearts, really big souls, and a really great skill set. So shout out to both of these guys. They are both just super radical. I am also really excited because I think that, you have Marlon, who's never been finished. Like, it's come a little close, right? Been dropped, but never been finished. And then David, he's one to get the finish, of course. But more than that, it's not just like, oh, someone who finishes and someone who's never been finished. Like, okay, yeah, a basic assessment. I think what's also interesting is that within David's 10 finishes, they're split. So he's not somebody who relies on getting the knockout early. Again, mentioned he's not searching for it. So he has found a couple of knockouts even in the 4th round. Okay, so I like that. And I like kind of how that stacks with Cheeto's style, because Cheeto is a bit of a patient fighter, as mentioned. So I do think that this fight will be a decision fight, and I am expecting round 3 to look a lot different than round 1, and I'm excited about that. I'm just excited for David's future, and always excited to see Cheeto. We love the Cheeto. And Cheeto was having like a lot of cancellations during 2025, and I was getting a little worried, so I'm happy to see him back here relatively shortly after his last fight. That leads us to our main event. Shout out to Loner Kavanagh stepping in short notice to fight the legend Brandon Moreno. I think Brandon Moreno is so radical, so cool. The Assassin Baby is probably one of my first ever like favorite fighters. Like as I started watching the UFC. His personality and his fighting style is the perfect match. We got a lot of people like that on this card. His initial interest in martial arts was actually capoeira, and he couldn't really find any options to train in that, so he found a kickboxing and jiu-jitsu gym. Boom! And then he found his way to MMA. He had a UFC stint. So he had a first run, didn't really go great, and he had to, climb his way back, become the LFA flyweight champion, never give up, and came back to the UFC again. So that's crazy. He was cut initially after just 2 losses. So that's not fair, but he made his way back, and it was so silly because he made his way through tough, and he had his debut on the UFC like while the show was still airing. It was a bit of a flop on the UFC's part. Like we flopped out a little on that. It's fine. So right now though, he is coming off of a TKO loss to Tatsuro Taira. I have to, of course, honor that I'm very biased. I think Tatsuro Taira is totally radical, but I'm a Brandon Moreno stan. Like Brandon Moreno is like on my top 5 right now in terms of active fighters. Like I think Brandon Moreno is the shiz. Like he is so freaking cool. So when I was watching that, maybe there was a little bias in my head because I did feel it was an early stoppage. I know that the desk thought that as well, but me and the desk, we don't always agree, and the world and life doesn't always agree with the desk, right? The desk is, they have their moments. But let me know what you think, if that was an early stoppage. And I do think the fact that there wasn't a lot of damage that Brandon took is a big influence for the quick turnaround. So it didn't look like he took too much damage. The fight was very grapply until that point. So, we had your characteristic Brandon Moreno boxing stance where his head's all... Brandon Moreno, he's all down there. Not too much damage though, so we're back. Pretty quick turnaround, just 2 months after that. Brandon Moreno's a record setter. He's a record setter. So he's the first ever UFC champion to be from Mexico. So first Mexicano champion, and he's been the champion twice. I remember when he won the belt, just, bursting out in tears. Viva la Mexico. Oh my gosh. I was bursting out in tears. That was such a beautiful moment. And he did end up losing that belt to Pantoja, as we know, via split, and has been 0-3 to Alex overall. So, man, so frustrating. And now we're just kind of circling, right? But now that things have gotten a little different in the flyweight division, they've gotten a little chaotic. Maybe there's a chance for Brandon Moreno to snatch that belt up again. And I'm sure he's thinking about it. He has been a headliner for Mexico City 3 times. So shout out La Ciudad de Mexico for bringing Brandon Moreno in as a main event 3 times. Vamos to that. Yeah. He's got vicious cardio with submission game. So like we saw in that Tatsuro Taira fight, Taira submission expert, and Brandon Moreno was working him in that first round, Taira working him in the second, but Brandon Moreno very confident in his submissions, entertainment guaranteed in that sense that if it's on the feet, on the ground, you're going to get a beautiful show out of the Moreno. He's ready for war. Right? 4-fight series with Figgy, revisited. Okay, if you don't recall, get in there and watch that. He's also an avid collector. Maybe a little bit too much of an avid collector. I mean, I'm talking certified Funko Pop addiction. Look at this guy. I love it. I love a collector. Hey, if any of you collect things, let me know. I sort of collect CDs. I don't know if you can really say I have a lot of those. So yeah, on my top 5, Beautiful Soul. If you want to hear more from Brandon Moreno, check out Entre Asaltos. He's got a MMA podcast. And he'll be going against the mewer extraordinaire, Loner Kavanagh. Oh yeah, he's mewing. I mean, how does he mew that hard? It's kind of just how his cheekbones are. Pretty cool. So he's a kickboxing black belt, very striky. He's 2-1, not 2-0, because he's coming out of a knockout loss to Charles Johnson, looking to get back after that. It's kind of crazy, because I thought to myself initially, like, oh, why didn't they call Charles? Well, because Charles is coming off of a loss a little bit more recently. So Loner's had some time to recover from the damage. He has faced 6 undefeated opponents in his time, so I think that's pretty important, that Loner Kavanagh has had some pretty tough competition. Like, he didn't have an easy coast, so his 9-1 record, there's a lot of pretty gritty moments in there that you can really see, and I'm willing to say confidently that he's willing to die on the sword. Yeah, he's definitely has that. Him and Brandon Moreno have that in common. His wins are pretty evenly split between knockouts and decision. Again, kickboxer, not really interested in submissions. Lots of teeps, right? Because we got a kicky man. And he does say that he's looking for the finish. Always looking for the finish. He's definitely a counter striker, and we like to see that. He's a volume counter striker, so he's not going to hang out from the outside too much, but loves the timing. And he knows this is a huge opportunity for him. He's looking to get his ninja on. He's really into ninjas, and this is, his first 5 round fight, potentially, if we get there. So crazy opportunity and crazy pressure for sure for our friend Loner, who is the lone Englishman. Just one. This is a really exciting way to end the night because both of these guys have that willing to die by the sword mentality. I know we got a lot of fighters with that energy, but I mean, for real on this one, for real. Like, Brandon Moreno has really proven that he is all about that war. And I think when you investigate Loner Kavanagh, he's got that as well. I mean, his face has been completely battered. He's been undeterred. The flyweight division is just so cuckoo crazy that it somehow makes sense. It somehow makes sense for Loner Kavanagh to get this opportunity. I am not against it. Let me know if there was someone else who you would have rather seen step in for Almabayev. I'm pretty sad that we're not having Almabayev though, so it's unfortunate that he's injured after such a dominant, awesome Gilly Tilly win. I think it would be really cool if this fight did go 5 rounds. I want to see how Loner is in that realm because we know how Brandon is, right? We know how Brandon is. Brandon is I mean, he is as dynamic as they come. So if we make it to 5 rounds, we know we're going to get a Brandon Moreno extraordinaire. Like, he's really going to put it on. And I want to see how Loner holds up when we get into those real cardiac rounds. So I would love a bloody, gritty, nasty 5 round fight decision. Yes, and because I'm a Brandon Moreno stan, I do want to see Brandon Moreno come on top of this one, but it's also tough because I think Loner Kavanagh is really cool. He's also very respectful. He's just got nice things to say. Like, we got a lot of really nice, like, awesome people on this card who just don't ooze bad vibes. Like, there's not one person on this card who oozes bad vibes, at least not outwardly. And yeah, he's a real sweetie. He's a real sweetie, and we love 2 sweeties that can bite down on the mouthpiece and get nasty gritty. That's like the best combination that there is, honestly. So I really expect a very exciting war from this one. I think we're going to get a lot of strikes. It's going to be a lot of significant strikes. I think Brandon Moreno will try to mix it up at some points and go for some ground attacks since that's not exactly Loner's favorite place to be. And Brandon Moreno in general is very mixy. He's a mixer. So I think we will get that. Wow, this will be a good one. Really excited. This is just going to be a great card in general. We don't get disappointment when we go to La Ciudad de Mexico. We just don't. All of our fighters throughout Latin America they're incredible. We have a incredible showcase of spirit, of soul. Really looking forward to every fight. This is a great one. And hopefully I will not be sicky by then. Not sicky, recovery. Let me know what fight you're most looking forward to. If you think someone else should have Loner's spot, not in a shady way, but just the flyweight division's crazy. So I'd love to know your thoughts on all that. And, anything. Thoughts on anything. Somebody made a really good suggestion to talk about the odds in the matchups, and I do definitely want to do that. Didn't put this PowerPoint together as perfectly strategically. Okay, they're never perfectly strategic, but just put a little bit less juice into this. We've been a little juiced out, but I think that was a great suggestion. And always love to hear thoughts and whatever, all the thoughts. Yeah, here is our song of the week, even though it's like 2.5 days. Okay, yeah, better late than never. So there you go. And yeah, let me know. But I think that's all we got. Peace out.